Myths and legends from around the world mention hell being a place that can be reached through large openings in the ground or through portals. There's Stull Cemetery in Stull, Kansas, the now demolished Demon House in Gary, Indiana, and the Seven Gates of Hell in Hellam Township in Pennsylvania. When you first look at the remote 13th century Houska Castle in the Czech Republic, nothing really jumps out at you until you learn what may lie beneath. After that, you may never look at it the same. The windows are fake. They're glass panes with walls behind them. There aren't any fortifications. There's no water source except for a cistern to collect rainwater. There's no kitchen, and for years no one even lived in it because that wasn't its original purpose. The location of the castle is also a head-scratcher. It's in the middle of nowhere, and it's right on top of a limestone cliff that's hard to reach, even today. It's surrounded by woods, mountains, and swamps, and it wasn't close to any trade routes. The original construction didn't include stairs from the courtyard to the upper floors, and most of the castle's defenses were built facing inwards towards the inner courtyard. Houska Castle was constructed somewhere between 1253 and 1278 during the reign of Ottokar II, the Iron and Golden King of Bohemia. It was built to serve as an administrative hub to maintain the large residence. At least that's what they say. But why was the castle built in this exact location? Well, that is where the story gets fun and interesting. It's believed the castle was built to keep something in rather than out. According to lore, the castle, and specifically the chapel, was built to cover a large ancient portal to hell, where stories of horrendous winged creatures and half-animal, half-human chimera were seen. Locals were terrified of the creatures that began to crawl out of the hole at night and kill their livestock. They were also afraid of turning into the demonic creatures themselves, so they stayed away. Because the stories and reports of demonic attacks around the hole increased, something had to be done. They attempted to fill the hole with stones and other things, but the hole seemed to swallow everything that was dropped down into it. The chapel was dedicated to the Archangel Michael, who is known as the leader of God's army against the forces of evil. The chapel was built directly over the hole. Now, the walls of the chapel are covered with some of the oldest paintings in Europe, and there are frescoes that depict the Archangel Michael fighting a dragon and another oven with a small devil figure tied up on the end of a pole, and the dragon represents Satan. Other frescoes show the scene of the crucifixion and Saint Christopher. And as I said earlier, the chapel was built on top of the seemingly bottomless pit, and visitors are often unsettled by some of the fresco paintings that seem out of place in a chapel. They aren't biblical. The strangest of the paintings is of a chimera, a creature with the upper body of a woman and the lower body of a horse that's using its left hand to shoot an arrow. Left-handedness was associated with evil in the Middle Ages, and the creepy paintings seem to hint at the evil that's trapped below the chapel floor. Even though it's been over 700 years since the pit has been sealed, visitors still claim to see and hear unnatural, ungodly things. They've reported scratching sounds and screams underneath the floor of the chapel. Dead birds are often found in the castle's inner courtyard. Caretakers have told stories of a headless spirit that's seen in the courtyard with blood gushing from his neck. The current owner saw a glass levitate from a table one night while entertaining guests. A guest saw two featureless human shadow figures who approached her while she was staying in the hunting lodge outside of the castle. She was too afraid to move while the shadow figures told her about young girls they had killed. A woman peering out the window in a white dress on the 3rd floor is one of the most commonly seen ghosts on the property. The basement is nicknamed Satan's Office, and it has a throne with horns and a trident. A priest with no face is often seen there in front of the throne, and then he walks up the steps and he vanishes before he reaches the top. There's also a group of people chained together, each with a horrific injury or carrying a dismembered body part, who walk through the castle. It's been said that a gigantic black dog hangs around the castle and that other dogs act very strangely when entering the property. During the construction phase of the castle, it's said that all the prisoners in the village who had been sentenced to death were offered pardons if they agreed to be lowered into the bottomless pit by rope and then tell what they saw. The first young man was tied up and lowered into the hole, and a few seconds after he could no longer be seen, he started to scream, and he begged to be pulled back up. When he was pulled back up, he was still screaming, and he looked as if he had aged 30 years. His hair had turned white, and his skin was wrinkled, extremely wrinkled. He had been so traumatized by what he saw that he was sent to an insane asylum, where he died 2 days later. In the 1940s, the Nazis overtook the castle during their occupation of Czechoslovakia because the castle lacked defenses and it was 30 miles from Prague. It's unknown what they were up to inside the castle, and we'll probably never know the truth because the documents about their time in the castle were destroyed. There are, however, several myths about their alleged occult activities there. The most well-known one is about Heinrich Himmler's occult library. He was an SS Nazi chief, and he was obsessed with Germanic pagan lore. He led an operation whose aim was to collect as many books about witchcraft, the supernatural, and the occult as possible. His collection is said to have numbered more than 13,000 books and manuscripts. He believed the power of the old occult masters would help the Nazis to rule the world. And they also performed inhumane experiments on prisoners of war. And after the war, the skeletons of 3 assassinated German soldiers were found in the inner courtyard of the castle, but it's not known why they were shot or when they were shot. And today, Houska Castle is one of the most haunted places on Earth. Several paranormal TV shows have also visited Houska Castle, and they concluded that it is, indeed, haunted.